Hey guys, Bix Weir, roadtoruta.com. We have the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, Will Lehr from unboundassets.com and clubcocal.com. Will is out there saving the world. Will, how's life in the fast lane?
It's fast, buddy. You got to stay on it. You got to stay alert and on your toes. But
The
it's fun.
the amazing thing is Will's been helping some people get their cryptos unstuck that they thought they had lost, and it's one of the services that Unbound Assets does is crypto advising. If you have cryptos, you just can't figure out how to get it. You know it's there, but you can't figure out how to get it. They do that, but it really brings me back to having assets in your own possession at this point in time in history. And a lot of people, which I always forget, people aren't as old as us, haven't been in this game as long as we have been. Um, so I'm going to show you guys a couple things that it will frighten you into action, hopefully. The first is a brief discussion from a senator, Senator Kanjorski, right after September 11th, 2008. On September 11th in 2008, the entire financial system almost collapsed. And let me play that scenario. And this is 2 weeks later he gave this interview. So first, let me screen share here. All right, here we go. You see that, Will?
Yep.
On Thursday at about 11 o'clock in the morning, the Federal Reserve noticed a tremendous drawdown of money market accounts in the United States to the tune of $550 billion was being drawn out in a matter of an hour or two. The Treasury opened up its window to help. They pumped $105 billion in the system and quickly realized that they could not stem the tide. We were having an electronic run on the banks. They decided to close the operation, close down the money accounts, and announce a guarantee of $250,000 per account so there wouldn't be further panic out there. And that's what actually happened. If they had not done that, their estimation was that by 2 o'clock that afternoon, $5.5 trillion would have been drawn out of the money market system of the United States, would have collapsed the entire economy of the United States, and within 24 hours, the world economy would have collapsed. Now, we talked at that time about what would happen if that happened. It would have been the end of our economic system and our political system as we know it. And that's why, when they made the point, we've got to act and do things quickly, we did.
Well, if that doesn't scare you into thinking, holy shit, what if that happens again? And would there be the
Here's what nobody's telling you
hang
about the
on.
new bearskin hoodie.
Would there be the political will to do anything about it this time? I don't think there would be. I think this was always the plan. Um, and I think the only guy who could be president during this time would be Trump. Not to blame him, but he is very good at restructuring businesses that go bankrupt. He uses it as part of his arsenal. Um, it should be very frightful for everybody who's holding money in the system in any kind of way. Because just as Kanjorski said, and this was 9/11 in 2008, which I'll get to a different separate thing, but um, it was a planned event. It was planned, I believe, by the guys at the Fed and the US Treasury. And if you look at, and I'm going to share this one more thing just to prove my point more, you go to the original Road to Ruta documents, the Wishes and Rainbows comic book that was released on January 1st, 2007, and you go to a page in that book, which I will show you right here. Here's Ruta writing. It used to be a formula in the original comic, except it got changed to 11 plus 9 right here. This is in the Fed comic book. 9/11. A year and a half later, on 9/11, is when that occurrence happened, that the entire system almost shut down. The same time, the same day, the same web page at the Fed on January 1st, 2007, when I found this stuff. It was the day it was published, by the way, because I was at that page the day before and it wasn't there. This is the educational page of the Fed Boston. And then the next day it was there. And I was like, holy crap. So I saw it the exact time that it was posted. There were three documents. One was the Wishes and Rainbows document. One was the teacher's guide, which is called The Road to Ruta. And then there's a third one called Banking Basics. And in Banking Basics, which I will show you right here, that's one of the pages. And it talks about how banks fail and things like that. But this, on the same exact day that all this was published, when was the last time you saw a girl, anybody, go into a bank with a stack of gold coins, swapping it for dollar bills? I mean, when was the last time we had a real gold standard? Probably prior to 1934, when they nationalized gold or whatever they did back then. A lot of people have different takes on that. But all this is going on. And then we have a month or a year and a half later, that exact thing almost happened. The system was hours away from being destroyed. And we would have gone to a gold standard then. I think we will go to a gold standard now because it's already in our Constitution. We don't have to, write new legislation to go onto a gold and silver standard. It's already written in the Constitution. The reason I'm bringing all this up is I do think we're like right on the cusp of another one of those September 2008 moments. And for those of you who don't know, the current derivative bubble that was probably about $1 trillion back in 2008, that was the cause of a lot of the problems, is now, I hear it's 3 quadrillion, between 2 and 3 quadrillion dollars of derivatives out there. That is unrecoverable by any stretch of the imagination. And I think we're right there, and it's not going to take much to pop that bubble. And that was the whole idea, always, was to run this system as long and hard as possible. Elon saying they got computers printing money out of thin air. Will, what's your take? Is it time?
It's time. It's time. We've all waited long and hard. We've been talking and talking. We've been building, we've been working too.
Preparing.
But we've been talking a lot about this transition, this monetary transition that we are going through. And yeah, I think, first of all, commenting on that video with the Congressman
Jaworski, yeah.
that was 18 years ago, brother. 2008.
And they haven't fixed any of those problems. As a matter of fact, they're a lot worse now.
Yes, but behind the scenes, what's been built, what are we going into? What's going to happen? I used to think a hyperinflation of the dollar and all this stuff. That's chaos, pandemonium, just like with the money market evaporation. These are all problems that they have to avoid, whether it's white hats or, it's another conversation. But I'm real curious how this thing is going to transition into what appears to be a commodity-backed monetary system: gold, silver, Bitcoin. That's what governments of the world are doing. They're all racing towards hard assets.
That it seems to be true, and when you think about the steps that are being taken or talked about being taken, like let's take the Judy Shelton backing a 50-year bond with gold. from the United States, that would do nothing. I mean, I kudos to her for bringing it up, and she's in the place, or will be in a place of power probably if she gets on the Fed board, which I think she should. The reality of underestimating the size of the problem that she either she doesn't understand what's happening on the derivative side, or she doesn't, or she thinks that's all we can get away with right now as far as the monetary system. I don't know one person who would invest in a 50-year gold-backed bond, the gold held by the United States. The United States has defaulted on their gold obligations many times in the past and will continue to, especially over 50 years. I mean, what if another Biden administration gets in there next year, or in 3 years, whatever it is? I mean, the first thing they'll do is when they need the gold, they're going to take the gold back, and it would be insane for anybody to invest in that. So I don't know why they would even propose it, because it underestimates the problem. The problem is debt money. The problem is debt money that's been created out of thin air to the probably to infinity. We don't know how much money has been printed. We don't know
And
how
gold,
much money has been created. We have no idea. Catherine Austin
yeah.
Fitts found an extra 30 trillion, and then it went up to 100 trillion when they were looking at the bonds. And then Elon tells us there's 14 computers creating money out of thin air. We don't know how much they created. They could have created another $100 trillion and given it to the Bidens. And they gave Stacey Abrams, that crazy Georgia person, $1.5 billion for her quote company as a grant. And it's like, where did that money come from? Yeah. Is that
Thin air.
yeah. How much was given to Obama? I'm hearing hundreds of millions.
Yeah.
Maybe even hundreds of billions. I don't know. Nobody knows.
Well, I think the gold and silver prices in the last 6 months, year, it's the canary in the coal mine for a reason. And $4,000 gold, we're at $50 silver. Silver's the one to watch, specifically Silver Eagles. I mean, anybody can watch this. Just watch the price, the premiums specifically on Silver Eagles, on all the main dealers. And when you see those premiums start to increase, the market's getting tight. And what I see on the wholesale to retail side is the wholesale lines. And the last, a month ago, I was selling Silver Eagles for $5 over spot. 2 weeks ago, a week ago, they were $10 over spot. Now they're back to about $8. But
there's also the fact, and this is a fact, that the U.S. Mint has pretty much stopped making Silver Eagles. The demand is there. This will be the smallest Silver Eagle production in history, with the demand going through the roof, and they just will not. And it gets back to what, when I interviewed Jack Sermon, the head of Silver Eagle sales. And that interview is still on my website, for roadtoruta.com. Go check it out. He said he was told by Ventures Gibson, the head of the Mint at the time, to stop selling Silver Eagles altogether. And he's like, we can't do that. And then she said, well, sell as few Silver Eagles as possible. And we've been on, quote, allocation, allocation is illegal. The law says you are required to sell Silver Eagles to meet demand. If they can't get the blanks, which was their first excuse, they have to bid higher for the blanks. Yes. Even if you have to pay $100 a blank, it is the law that you are required to meet demand. And they are clearly not doing that. And they haven't been doing that for a very long time. But the laws don't seem to matter to our government these days.
Well, they can't meet demand. I mean, they can't. And
they can. They just have to charge more.
Well, yeah, sure. Which would mess their whole rigged game up, right?
Well, exactly.
So, and it's not just Eagles. I don't want people to think that it's only Eagles, but it starts with Eagles. Right. When there's a supply side crunch, the Eagles start, and then it just spills over. Once premiums on Eagles are huge percentages of the underlying people just buy bars. And I mean, I'm seeing it right now, you know.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a dislocation right now in junk silver, in the pre-65 junk silver. There's no premium on that these days.
It's
I mean,
super cheap. Yes.
the insanity of that being, I mean, if we do go back to a gold and silver standard and we don't have any government to create new laws around anything, imagine the value of that specific currency made by the US government that came out of the US Mint. That is legal tender, where
Fixed
the Federal
supply.
Reserve note is not legal tender, and it's got the silver in it to just, kick up the value.
And they're never making those again.
And they're never
Haven't
making
been
those
made in
again.
50 years, and they're never going to make them again.
And
60 years.
there are rumors, I don't know if they're true or not. There are rumors that the commercial shorts on the comics that need the 1,000-ounce bars, the Comex bars, are melting down pre-65 coinage. And if
Which
that
is
is
illegal.
true, I thought it was illegal, and then somebody pointed out that it is legal. The law, it was a law that was written in the 70s because they wanted to get people to stop melting down pennies and quarters or nickels. They said that in that law that they said it's illegal to do that because it's currency. They said, but it's okay for the pre-65 coinage. Now, I don't know. It might have, whether or not that law is a true law, and you don't know what's real and what's fake these days. I mean, the insanity of doing it, but the only reason to do it, it would have to be cost effective to get the 90% silver out, and they must be so desperate for those 1,000-ounce bars that I can see a bank doing that. But what does it do? It literally limits the supply even more of pre-65 coinage.
Yep.
So I remember when Eagles were up like $10, $15 over spot when there was that shortage.
About 6-7 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. And the pre-65 coinage was up there at $6-7 over spot.
Yep.
Because it was the same concept. I think what was going on at the time was that there is a real difference between the US money silver and regular silver. And I still believe that to this day. And yeah, my latest silver buys have all been pre-65 coinage. And for other reasons. I mean, clearly the penalties for counterfeiting, you get counterfeiting laws versus just fraud. Like if you're making fake 1-ounce rounds, that's fraud, and there's a certain amount of penalties. If you're making fake silver eagles, that's counterfeiting, and that's the penalties are 10 times what.
Yeah.
So yeah, you don't want to do that. Although I hear China's doing that. So I think there will come a time when all silver comes into question, and gold. The veracity of, is it really the metal, like 100-ounce bars? And obviously with gold, it's been really weird because if you have a large bar of gold, 10 ounces or more, which is what, 40 grand.
Yeah.
It could be fake, and there's really good fake ones out there. But nobody is willing to drill into their bar.
Right.
The scratch and sniff test just works on the surface, basically. That's it. And a lot of these, it's easy to code it. But I think a lot of the silver 100-ounce bars, and even if it just gets called into the question, you're going to see people saying, I want to, at least swap my 100-ounce bars for something that won't get called into the question. It doesn't make sense to, the silver dimes. It doesn't really make sense to try to, put molybdenum in there or whatever metal that is close to silver. And I do think there will come a time when everything gets called into question. Is it real? What is real and what is fake?
Yeah.
What's your take on that? Let's just say, let's keep cryptos out of it for now. And let's say if the U.S. goes back to a gold and silver standard, how do you see that working?
Oh, geez. I mean, I think the metals are poised at this point. I mean, it's just, currencies, it's a fiat escape, And I think the maintenance of gold and silver prices have, they're just being maintained now to allow a breakout, because they can't be kept at bay anymore. Yeah, and I think, going back to a gold and silver standard, and I think you'll have different countries that are going to do different things. Some
Yeah.
countries are going to adopt Bitcoin, some country and gold. Some are going to do a whole mix. I mean, look at El Salvador. Bukele made Bitcoin legal tender several years ago, but he just, he's a gold bug too.
Yeah.
They just made the country's first gold purchase in 30 years. He's been openly trying to, get mining approved because they've got, incredibly rich, veins in the country. So anyway, I think you'll see different countries do different things, but I think gold and silver as a standard will certainly be a huge part of the new monetary system. And per your work, if the U.S. has hordes of gold and or silver, probably lesser, if any, silver, but gold, and other resources, right? That would make sense, to reintroduce in the new monetary system, right?
Yeah. And I do think, obviously, from at least my work and understanding, there's my estimate is 2 million tons of gold out there. They're saying there's 220,000 that's ever been mined. I think it's anybody who does any research into Yamashita's gold or the Chocolate Mountain gold, gold in the Grand Canyon, all that stuff, it's everywhere. And
So
people
you
are
think
finding it everywhere.
there's 10x more
10x more
than
gold.
they're saying, but there's probably 1,000x more currency created than we know
Oh,
of.
yeah. Well, yes, I do think, yeah.
So
Don't get me wrong. I think gold will, before the currency collapses. See, that's the thing. I don't think we'll see the kind of hyperinflation you've seen in Zimbabwe and in Germany and things like that. I think it'll be just a full stop, which is what Senator Kanjorski was saying was about to happen. It would have stopped the next day. There wouldn't be any markets open. You wouldn't know the value of the dollar. You wouldn't know, things wouldn't work. The banks would all be gone. They're hyper leveraged, as we know. Jamie Dimon and JP Morgan, the only banker for the Epstein crowd, has 58 trillion in derivatives. Yeah, what happens when you take out the largest bank in the world with a derivative collapse? They only have 4 trillion in assets. So yeah, a derivative collapse would destroy banks like JP Morgan Chase, which would destroy every other bank and
all the banks,
savings and loan and everything because they're all intertwined with each
all
other.
the counterparty. Yeah.
They JB Diamond is counterparty to 58 trillion in derivatives. If all those go bad, every derivative goes bad. And you won't see, I don't think we'll see that kind of hyperinflation scenario because those were all just one-off type of. Germany had it, Venezuela is having it or had it, Zimbabwe had it, but the rest of the world was still functioning around it, and they could use other things. They could use the U.S. dollar. A lot of them, at least the recent ones, go to the U.S. dollar or gold or cryptos. There are alternatives. If you see the U.S. dollar get into that mode, um, we're the world's reserve currency. We still are. China has no desire to be the world's, the yuan has no desire to be the world's reserve currency. They're printing 8-1 to ours. The reality of the US pulling the plug or going down means everybody does. Just like Ken Jaworski said, within 24 hours, the whole world would melt down.
Yeah.
And what would happen? And that's kind of the thing that I think everybody needs to think about right now, especially if you have retirement money in a position where it's held by a third party. Right now, I just looked this up this morning. 46 trillion in retirement funds in the USA. That's just the USA, 46 trillion. Um, the concept of that disappearing one day is very real. I mean, who holds this stuff? It's the banks of the world and the brokerage houses of the world. Um, we saw a meltdown in 2008 where SIPC insurance is there, but it's tiny. It is fractional for stocks and bonds and all that. FDIC insurance is just as bad. It's like I think it's 1.8% of all that they insure they have the money for. Only 1.8% of everything the FDIC insures. And we are getting to a point where it's like, okay, what assets can you grab? Because we'll probably see something coming. And you offer a service that allows people with like not 401ks, IRAs to hold assets as close to their own possession as possible. Whereas you can run and get it if you see the system starting to melt down, if you have a storage vault near you that works. Tell people about what that is, the self-directed IRA, and why that's so important.
It's a means to, get your assets out of these institutions and into real assets, where they're still in the tax umbrella, but you're in control, and, you can invest in these tangible assets outside of the system. It does work for 401ks. It just depends on the 401k. Not, if you're actively currently employed and under 59 and a half, it's probably, the funds are probably stuck in your 401k, but sometimes there's workarounds. But yeah, it basically takes those retirement funds,
Like
rolls them
IRAs and
into
Roth IRAs and all that, all of them.
Yep. Rolls it into a self-directed platform where you're in charge, you're in control. And you can invest in gold and silver physical. You can invest in Bitcoin and cryptos and cold storage. You can invest in real estate. You can,
You
kind
can
of go
invest
anywhere
in
you want.
stocks and bonds like you're doing already,
Sure.
if you
Yep.
choose. But you control it, and you also have immediate access to it, which is I think is so important. With Ken Jaworski, what he said was within 24 hours, anybody who didn't have their assets in their hands, it would have been over. You would
Right.
have lost them.
Yeah.
And that's 46 trillion right now, minus the few of us who have self-directed IRAs.
Yeah, and the number's growing. I mean, more and more people are shifting into tangible assets. I think silver's run up over 50. I thought, oh my God, this is it. We closed over $52 for several days.
Oh,
Supplies were
it's got to
getting
bounce around there a little bit.
thinner and thinner. Well, just looking at the supply side,
Oh, I
and
know. Yeah.
and it cooled off. We dropped back under 50. Supply side's still really tight, but it's cooled off a little bit. And it's not going to take much, for, I mean, I remember that 6, 7, 8 years ago during the summertime, we had a silver sharp pullback. Market was already tight. And that was when Eagle premiums went $6, $8,
Yeah.
$10, 12, $15. And that there was a period there for about 6 months, I think, where we couldn't even sell. We were out of silver and we couldn't source silver, nor could any other retailers except the monsters that had, huge amounts of inventory that they just jacked the premiums up on and held on for months and months. And then it kind of slowly recovered. But I think that's going to happen again in the face of all this monetary chaos and, huge amounts of capital flowing in and around Bitcoin and crypto. It just, as soon as silver gets tight, oh, silver's sold out, or 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks out, I'm not touching it. I'm buying gold. I'm buying Bitcoin. I'm buying crypto. It just creates that frenzy,
Yeah. And people think that like they can always go buy at the local coin shop. You can't. If silver starts to run and all of a sudden there's a banking crash and you don't know the price, the dealers don't know the price either, and they're not gonna get rid of their precious metal in that scenario. They wouldn't sell it at any price probably until some kind of exchange starts up again.
Yeah.
So the availability of physical metal at your local coin shop will stop just as suddenly as the banking system.
Yeah, because your coin shops are selling out of their inventory and they don't have much. Now if you come in and you buy a big order, that they'll replace that with a wholesale order. But if those wholesale lines are dry, they're going to stop selling what they have in on
Right.
hand.
They're the biggest
Or
silver
jack
bugs
their
out
premiums.
Yeah, they know what
Exactly.
the hell's going on. Yeah, so
It-
they're more knowledgeable than your average Joe. So when your average Joe runs in to buy silver, which will be, I just saw Alex Jones start
yeah,
marketing silver, saying, "Oh my God, the banks are running out of silver," and holy crap, what's his following?
millions.
5 million, 10 million people. It used to be bigger, but um,
Yeah,
yeah,
he's
and
big.
he was saying, "Oh my God, they ran out of silver in London." Now, just today, they posted how much silver was added back into London, and it was 50, I think 54 million ounces were added back into London. They basically left the COMEX and went over to London. But what it gives us is we know how thin that is. 54 million ounces last or in October, no, in September, India imported 32 million ounces, just one country.
Wow.
And then supposedly they've done even more in October. Those numbers don't come out until the 15th. And where did they get half of that silver? From London, from the LBMA.
Mhm.
So, and they break out kind of, at least Metals Focus breaks out where it came from. And half of that metal came from the LBMA warehouses. So
Mhm.
we know at least, that it came like 15 million ounces or so were removed just for India. And India is trying to build their solar manufacturing capacity like China has. And I've been hearing a lot again, once again, a lot of people saying, "Oh, solar's dead. Nobody's doing it anymore." Blah blah blah. And it's the biggest lie ever. And Bloomberg came out with an article saying nobody's putting in solar anymore. I'm like, this is just shocking because solar is the cheapest form of energy to build right now
Mhm.
because everybody's oversupplying the panels because silver's so cheap. And silver's only about 12% of the cost of a panel. So if silver price doubles, goes to $100 an ounce, it'll be what, 24% of the price. And it'll still be the cheapest energy to put in. And
Wow.
that's 35 years worth of power. And China is just going bonkers with it, up 64% in the first half of the year.
I was gonna say, it surprises me that these silver savvy countries like China and India would be so heavy on solar, knowing that it's so silver consumptive and that the industry by design is dated. Because when we have $1,000 silver, to your point, solar ain't gonna exist because that math ain't gonna math anymore,
But
right?
that's exactly why they're doing it.
Because they'll
It
have the silver
they'll
sitting
have
there
the
they can
silver, yeah.
recycle.
They'll
Holy
recycle
crap.
the
Because
silver
it's
over
not
time.
gone. You got
It's not
12%.
gone.
Wow.
No. It's
How many
it's
ounces are in one panel? An ounce or two or three
well,
or
it
something?
it depends on the
The
panel, the
panel,
size of the
yeah.
panel. It's actually probably about 15 grams per watt is what is on average
Okay.
going out there right now, which the
Okay.
the Silver Institute is so low on there. They said they're going to do 200 million ounces in solar for silver. It's 450 based on their own calculations. They just lie and cheat and steal because the amount of and I did a talk on this the other day. The amount of silver in solar back in 2021 from the Silver Institute's own the silver survey was like 113 million ounces or something like that. And since 2021, they've put in four times the amount of silver. We're gonna do 850 gigawatts DC. From back then, it was only 2 gigawatts or 200 gigawatts. So it's this thing where every year it compounds upon each other. So we've done 400% growth in solar panels, but the amount of silver used has only gone up a tiny amount. And it's like, okay, and we're also in more silver heavy technology with the top con panels. You, they use both sides. They put silver on both sides, so it has about 50% more silver. And
Wow.
the Silver Institute just lies every year, and they try to change historical numbers so it doesn't look so bad. It's just the insanity of what we're having to live through. And people are saying, "Oh, how could we run out of silver in London?" It's very easy. We're being lied to about the consumption of silver. We're being
Mhm.
lied to on every front about the value of silver with the computers and derivatives setting the price. People just look at price. If you look at price, look at the gold silver ratio, 85 to 1 right now. That's insane. And that's because the banks have all this gold, and they have a lot more gold than they tell you about. Governments have a lot more gold than they tell you about. Everybody's got gold, but so they want that price to go up. Not
That ties a
everybody.
whole nother energy component to silver.
Oh yeah.
15 grams per watt.
That-
Like,
yeah. And that's the Silver Institute and Metals Focus hates, absolutely hates that the solar industry really tracks how much solar panels are going in. You know, for the Green New Deal and all that, they want to
because
see
they
the
can't
progress.
hide they can, so yeah,
Right.
so
And they
the
want to 10x it by 2050. And what you're going to get 4.5 billion ounces of silver per year. The numbers just stop making sense after a while.
right.
But then you look at all these countries that are signing on to this, and it's like all of Africa is now doing it. All of anywhere there's sunlight, because it's cheaper than putting in a gas powered plant or a nuclear plant or a coal plant, and it's clean. And so they get
I
the
guess
kudos.
if we have 0 point energy released, if this whole monetary reset also accompanies an awakening and the release of all these free technologies and med beds and free energy and 0 point and all that, we don't need freaking solar, you know?
Exactly.
So, okay, we can have $2,000 silver and a reset of the monetary system, and solar's now, gone.
Yeah. And we won't, they've been hiding, ways to make energy for so long. I mean, there was a car invented back in the 30s that ran off water. It just separated the hydrogen and the oxygen and
Yeah.
burned the hydrogen, and the car ran just perfectly off water. And
Yep.
they kill the guy, kill the patent, and it's gone. All of a sudden, it disappears.
Yep.
And that's been going on our whole lives, and our parents' lives, and their parents' lives, and we've just been lied to about everything. And I think that's one of the things that we can get to on the other side of this is a truthful accounting of everything that we've been lied to about. I mean, so much stuff talked about, like UFOs and aliens and all that, and we know we can't build these pyramids now. How do we do it? 10,000 years ago. It's just the insanity of that. And then they're finding all these civilizations under the Amazon rainforest with the LiDAR technology. You fly over and you bounce the radar over it. Like
My buddy, my
hundreds of
buddy in
millions
El
of people live.
Salvador,
Yeah.
my friend is doing it. He's got Ave Drones is his company. We've actually hired them to do a lot of work for our development projects down there. And
Wow.
he's like a modern day Indiana Jones. He's down there working with these archaeological societies, and because El Salvador is undiscovered in a million different ways
Oh
because
yeah.
it was locked down by 30 years for war and
Yeah.
violence and corruption, and now it's just opened the doors. So and it was like a hotbed for the Mayan. There's hidden
Oh,
pyramids.
we went to a
Dude, we
pyramid
hiked
when
it.
we were there.
We've hiked. I've hiked property for sale that had ruins
Yeah.
hidden in the dirt, like that were discovered when cutting a road. Like, oh my god, it's insane.
There's so much in the dirt under, you probably heard about, like, under the Egyptian pyramids, they're finding these massive uh, structures, shafts going down, and there's so much more to the pyramids than just looking at it.
I
I
might
think
have a.
I think the
I
Grand
might.
Canyon is hiding so much in the caves in the Grand Canyon, but nobody's allowed to go in the caves. There's over 2,000 caves, and you're not allowed to go there. It's off limits. The whole thing's crazy. But buried beneath the Grand Canyon under dirt, on the floor of the Grand Canyon, massive amounts of archaeological evidence of many, many past civilizations that have lived there, thrived there, and a cataclysm basically just buried it. If you look at the
Yeah.
Grand Canyon, it's like clearly it's split apart.
Yeah.
Clearly, it wasn't done by the Colorado
A
River.
river. No, I've
And
seen lots of canyons in the West and all over the world that were carved by fjords and ice and rivers, and none of them look like that.
no, and the exact same thing, about 10 times the size, can be found on Mars, Valles Marineris. And supposedly there was an electrical discharge between the sun, Mars, and the in the world, the Earth, that caused these cracks and fissures, which Really only unless it was a Earth expansion event, just a massive expansion event. The only other thing that could have caused that was a massive electrical discharge, which happens between planets and the sun and all this stuff. Um,
Static electricity.
oh yeah, and then all the mountains within on the floor of the Grand Canyon, there's mountains. It's like, okay, why didn't these mountains look like pyramids? They're named after. I mean, the mountain,
Well,
the Tower of Ra is the one
bro,
everybody looks at when you're looking
Utah.
over.
Have you seen the whole conspiracy that like Utah is the Old Testament, Middle East? And there's
Well, yeah.
I mean, I lived there for a little while, and you like the parks. I mean, Zion National Park, all the mountains are named biblical, Moroni, and they
Oh
have
yeah.
all these crazy biblical names.
And
And
you're not allowed to go off the paths. Everything
right,
in the Grand Canyon, they got the Marines guard the Grand Canyon,
yeah.
and they got
they got satellites
oh yeah,
watching. If you go off
yeah,
path, they got a bird dog coming after you.
and they don't allow drones in the Grand Canyon. They shoot them down actually because people try to do the drone almost instantly. So that's probably the most guarded place on the planet is the Grand Canyon, which
Well,
people don't understand that.
Antarctica's
Yeah.
up there.
Well, yeah, Antarctica. See, it's so hard to get there.
It's harder
not
to
hard
get to.
It's not hard to get to the Grand Canyon.
Well,
It's
that's
hard
what's
to,
amazing about the Grand Canyon is you have
yeah.
millions of visitors. I mean,
And all you're allowed to do pretty much is look over the cliff.
yeah. Well, there's a couple hikes,
Yeah,
that go down.
yeah.
There's that hike that
I've
goes all
hiked
the way
it.
down.
I haven't
Yeah.
gone all the way. I did halfway.
We've been about halfway.
Yeah.
It's real.
There's
Halfway is real.
If you get down to the bottom, there's like a cabin that you can stay in that they rent out rooms. I mean, it is a bitch because you got to come
Well,
up in one day basically.
we
And
can't go excavating in the Grand Canyon without getting shot, but we
no,
can in El Salvador. So maybe
Sure.
after this whole monetary stuff is over with and we have some free time and we're retired, we'll do a whole podcast or whatever. We'll do excavations in El Salvador and see if we can uncover ruins and pyramids and
dude, that would be
I don't
fun.
know,
Great
gold
podcast.
maybe.
Yeah. Sounds good to me. Holy moly. Will, I can go on forever. I really did though. I want to share with everybody. Will has a new company website, a new company called Club Cocal. Let me share some screens here. We can go directly to his sites, or you can even go.
Oh yeah, show them the Road to Ruta page. That looks nice.
So yeah, let me hold on a second. I'm trying to find it.
And that sunset is real. That is a real picture there, folks. Right in the backyard at Club Cocal. Come on
I love
down.
that. Okay.
Yeah, we got a lot of Ruta peeps coming down to El Salvador.
So here we are. If you go to affiliates at roadtoroot.com, I think you guys are right at the top there. Let's take a look.
Yeah, there it is.
There it is, Unbound Assets. Click on that, and there's our lovely man right there, Will Lehr. So there's two companies, Unbound Assets, high-touch consulting for investors seeking clarity and confidence in alternative assets, and that includes the IRA consulting, precious metals consulting, and the crypto consulting. Especially if you have like cryptos that you can't get out of a wallet type stuff, contact Will ASAP. And there's a phone number and a link, Unbound Assets. And then his other company, Club Cocal. Tell us about Club Cocal.
Club Cocal is a beachfront oasis in El Salvador, and it's the hub for our community gatherings, events, meetups, sort of an unspoken private club. It's our headquarters for our real estate operations as well. So we've got some real estate projects in the area and bringing like-minded friends down to plug in. And
that's exactly what it looks like. I've been there. Go down. Oh my God, a great time, and the people you'll meet down there all like-minded, and it's kind of like the early Anarchapulco days down there. If you guys remember that we used to go to Anarchapulco, the
Yep.
Road to Ruta people did for a long time. I think Berwick's still doing that. I don't know if it's the same scale as we had back in the early days. But yeah, freedom is absolutely on the discussion plate anywhere you go down there. And because they've recently been freed, the president did amazing things, putting bad people in jail. People are saying, well, what happens if the other people get swept up in that? It happens. That will happen. But the reality is, who are you trying to please? Are you trying to please everybody, or are you trying to please those people that want to live in freedom and in a place they don't have to worry about their assets being stolen? They don't have to worry about getting killed because of some idiot who should be in jail anyway. So yes, there
Yeah,
is.
the woke narrative collapses almost immediately down there, because you see it,
They've
you
been
feel
through
it.
it.
You
Yeah.
talk to the people, everybody's happy, everybody's doing skipping around when they were dodging bullets for 30 years, so there's very, very, very small percentage of people that are not elated with everything,
Yeah.
I mean, so
Go check it out.
yeah,
So
it's definitely it's a burning beacon on the hill, El Salvador is, and it's attracting a lot of freedom-minded, libertarian-minded people like us. And a lot of them are, I mean, the community's growing down there pretty rapidly. So and it's easy to plug right into.
yeah.
We've got friends and clients from Ruta folks, all from all over.
Yep. And they love their cryptos down there. So definitely go check out the website, Club Cocal, give Will a call, and then the Unbound Assets. Um, this discussion was meant to scare you about where your retirement money is being held and how fast it can disappear. Um, you almost lost whatever you had in 2008. You almost lost it. You were 24 hours away from losing it. Next time it won't be saved. It's too big now. So yeah, this was meant to scare people, and hopefully it scares you into action. So go check out Will Unbound Assets. Um, you can book a call with Will and find out more personally what you have and what you need to get into your own possession or close to your own possession, such that in 24 hours notice you can get all your retirement metal out instantly or as soon as faster than you could with a third party type of storage system that's out of your control, because it will happen that fast. And you, as the manager of your self-directed IRA, you make the call, which is really important. Will,
The driver's seat.
Will, how can they get in touch with you? What number should they call? And definitely check out those the two websites, unboundassets.com and clubcocal.com. Where can they call you?
Yeah, you can call us 833-462-6225. And you might catch me or a team member. You can leave me a message if you want to get a hold of me, or shoot an email, info at unboundassets.com. And we're happy to help in any way we can.
Awesome.
Always a delight talking to like-minded folks. So
Absolutely, yeah. Hey, Will, thank you so much, and we'll continue these discussions as long as it's necessary, and it's been necessary for us for a very long time. And I don't think the future we're gonna be as busy as we are after the crash. Hell, I'll be retired. You'll still be out there working because you like it so much. I do enjoy the Road to Ruta stuff, but I think in my retirement I'll try to be a rock star and, and give it all up.
yes. Okay, I like it. Little rock star,
That's
a little
right.
bit of archaeology digs on the side.
Oh yeah, the future is very exciting.
I
Will,
love it,
thank you
brother.
so much, and we will talk to you very soon.
All right, brother. Thank you.
Yep. Bye bye.